Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to go through each of the pages of this escape room template and show how it was coded to create the desired effect. So the first page of the escape room is just the title page with a start button. Let's go to the event graph to see how this was all coded. So I'm going to click on the event graph to go to the back side of the page where all the code lives. The first thing that you'll notice is that I have a play music block here. And the play music block is going to play this background music, Brewing Potions. And so what this is saying, these four blocks in the upper left-hand corner is saying, on page start, I want to play a music, and I also want to lock the navigation for the next page and the previous page. You'll see these two blocks, these lock navigation blocks, on literally every page of this escape room, since we do not want to have the default navigations. So normally on a story in elementary, you can navigate by swiping left or right or navigating using the keyboard arrow keys. But since we want to set the user navigation ourselves, we do not want these default navigation features. So we're just going to add these two blocks to on-page start for every single page of this escape room to make sure that we can direct the navigation the way that we want it to. So what if you want to have a different background music? To do that, let's go back to the layout side, and I'm going to go to sounds here, and we have music as a default. You can also go to sound effects if you want sound effects, but let's choose a new music. So let's try Monsters in Hotel, and let's just play this. And if you like it, you can just press the plus sign to add it to the page. So just because it's added to the page doesn't mean that it's going to play automatically. You would have to set it to play. So you notice on this page I have two background musics. So I'm going to go to Event Graph, and now I'm going to change the background music to Monsters in Hotel. Now let's preview this, and we should have the bum 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 sort of background music. Great. So it's no longer the Brewing Potions background music. And you're going to leave the start button coded the same exact way because we would want to go to the next page. So you could just leave that. And to change up the title, it works just like Google Slides or PowerPoint. You can just say, this is my title. And you can set the font to something extremely curly and unreadable, or to something like this. And if you really wanted to, you can even change the backgrounds. So you can do so by dragging the background image onto the page or by clicking on it. So if I want to change it to this, just click, or this. And as you notice, there's quite a few background images that you can choose from. And since it's unreadable, I can then change the font color to something a little bit more readable. Great, so you'll notice that I have an S here, and this is because I used it, remember, for my last puzzle, which is to have hidden letters on every page. So if you wanted to create your own hidden letters, you would just, like if you want to say cat, for instance, maybe I want a C here, and then I want to change it so it's a little bit more unreadable, like so. So let's go to the second page. So here, the only thing you'll need to modify is just the text. You can just change the hook to whatever you want. You can also change the image here and the background image to be whatever you want. So you can say something like, you suddenly woke up and found out that there was a pile of, I don't know, blood next to you. What happened? What is your name? Something dramatic like that for maybe older students. And you can do like a detective or murder mystery sort of escape room. So I'm not going to go through this too much. If you want to know how exactly we coded the variables, so basically making it so that the player can input the name and the name is used throughout the story, there is a tutorial on how to do that. If you click on tutorials and then you go to how to use a text variable, it will go step by step through how to create this sort of interaction, so you actually know what's going on and how to actually code it. But for the sake of time, we're just going to continue on and move on to our next one. So here, once again, you'll notice that we have these little curly brackets. So the little curly brackets are what we use to refer to a variable. In our case, the variable is name. So that is the name that the player or the reader has inputted into the story. So anytime you see these curly brackets, it's going to refer to a variable. And you can also call them mustaches, and mustache is a technical term, so you can tell your students that. In programming language, people do say mustache for certain programming languages as this template syntax. So here you can edit this and try the first puzzle. Once again, this is just a button that when you click, it just navigates to the next page. So I'm going to go to the event graph, and you'll notice once again that I have lock navigation right away on page start. This is on every single page on elementary, and I have a couple functions. So the first thing that's going to happen is this typewriter effect, and the typewriter effect is on the long paragraph of text. And then after this paragraph of text has finished typewriting, then I want to fade in the speech bubble, and then I want to fade in try the first puzzle. So here, when you have functions one after another, it's just called a sequence. And just like how you say step 1, step 2, that's what you're telling the computer to do. Step 1, play the text effect. Then step 2, fade this in. And then step 3, fade and try the first puzzle. And then here you have, once again, try the first puzzle on click. So when I click on this button, I'm going to do something. In my case, I'm going to go to page 4, which is the next page. So let's go to page 4. And here is the multiple choice question. So basically all you have to do if you want to edit this is change up the text here to whatever you want to talk about. So like, I don't know, what is 1 plus 1? Something simple. And then you want to make sure that hook is the one that you change to the right answer. So in this case it'll be 2. And then maybe you want to say 1, 0, and 11. And then you can obviously, rearrange things around. You can also change the color of the speech bubbles if you don't like the color, or if you want to be really creative, you can also, choose exactly what color you want. In my case, I don't particularly care, so I'm just going to make it blue. And we'll make this one blue too. And then you can just change the hint text. So something like, make sure to count properly. So I'm going to go to the event graph, and I'm just going to go through really quickly how this works. So on click, I want to go to a different page. This, as you notice, you have 4 of them. So, and each of them will go to 2 pages. There's a wrong page and there's a right page. So the wrong page is page 5 and the right page is page 6. So in my case, didn't update the numbers Great, so now you see it's updated. 2 is going to go to page 6, and 0, 1, and 11 will go to page 5. So this will probably be what you would expect your kids to do, especially if they're in grades, I would say 2 all the way even up to 4. I would recommend taking a look at the multiple choice quiz to just introduce this function go to page in a more segmented way, and also introduce the concept of user navigation and basically showing kids that they can design a story in which they kind of make the reader navigate in a certain way or another. So those are all found in the handouts, and you can take a look at that. So I'm going to move on to the next one. So the next page is, the next 2 pages are just the wrong answer and the right answer page. So typically, if you want to use this to demonstrate understanding, you would want the student to maybe explain more about why this is the wrong answer. And same thing, if it's the right answer, why is this the right answer? And just give more detail about the answer, the context, everything, just to show that they actually know what they're talking about, and it's not just maybe a vocabulary word that they put in, or a date that they just put in, and they don't actually know what's going on for that event. So here is the second question, and this is a free response question. So this is for the coding concepts in this one are more advanced. I would say it's geared towards upper elementary level, and they would need to have some coding experience before. Otherwise, the other option would just be have them remix this and kind of fill in the blank. So what I mean by fill in the blank is we're going to go to the event graph, and I'm going to find the compare text block. So here's the compare text block, and compare with variable. So essentially I would replace variable with whatever answer I want. So if I want the answer to be cat, then I write cat. So let's say like, my question is going to be, what is an animal that says meow? And maybe here my hint text would be, it is cute and fluffy. And if I preview this, if I type dog, it's wrong. I'm going to try again. And if I type cat, it will go to the right answer. So to talk a little bit more about the coding though, for those that are interested, basically these 3 blocks, on text input, variable equals text object, and text field 0, this is the same logic of when we create our input field that asks for the player's name. The only extension now is we're going to use a compare text block, which is found in logic, and these are conditionals. So conditionals are basically a fancy way of saying if, else. So if the answer is correct, so if it matches exactly, so if the player answer matches exactly cat, then go to page 9. Otherwise, go to page 8. So in programming language, we call conditionals if-else statements, if-then-else statements, but basically it's just a logical comparison, and it'll do different things depending upon if it's true or not. So just a bit of programming knowledge. So page 8 is pretty similar to our previous wrong and right answer pages. It just has some text that you can modify, and a try again that goes back to the question. And I'm going to move on to page 9. So page 9 is a bit special because it adds a little bit of interaction to this escape room to make it a little bit more fun. So you want to add these things after you've done your core escape room to just make it more interesting, add some red herrings or like false clues, things that make the game feel more random and therefore more rewarding when you do find the right answer. So let's take a look at how I coded this specific interaction. So what I did was when the key is dragged over the chest, then trigger the parchment to appear and the next to appear. So let's go through that step by step. So on page start, lock navigation next, lock navigation previous. This is pretty standard. This is also pretty standard when we have the next button, when I click it to go to page 10. What I want to focus on now is this on drag over once block. So this is an event. You can find them here. All the orange blocks are events. So they tell us when we want our code to run. Most of the time we see on page start, and we usually see on click when it comes to buttons, but we can also do on drag over or on drag over once. In this case, I want it to only trigger one time. So I have a dragged object and a targeted object. So the dragged object is the object that we can move around, and the targeted object is the object that I'm going to target. So when this key is dragged over the chest, then I want something to happen. In my case, I wanted this parchment to appear. So I use a fade block. So I want to fade this in. And then once again, this is a sequence. So I'm going to do this function first. I'm going to fade this in first. And then I'm going to fade in the second fade. So the second block, which is the next. And then to make things even more interesting, I'm going to make this parchment a hidden audio clue. So when I click on it, so on click, I'm going to play a recorded sound. And then after I finish playing this recorded sound, I'm going to fade in next. So I kind of did something funny where I faded this in first, and then, yeah, this is an error on my part. You want something like this. So otherwise, next is already faded in and it doesn't make any sense. So yeah. And so how do I add an audio? How do I add an audio clue? So there is a tutorial on how to do this. It's basically here, how to play a recorded sound, and it goes through step by step. I'm going to go through really briefly to show you. So you press record voiceover. Then you press the gray button. There's a 3, 2, 1 countdown. Hello, this is a hidden audio clue. Once you're done, you can press the button again. You can preview it. Hello, this is a hidden audio clue. And you can also trim it. So in my case, I have a lot of white space before and after, so I'm just going to trim it. So I'm going to press save to trim. And then I'm going to give this recording a name. So I'm going to call it Hidden Clue. So press save, and you'll notice that it has a 2. So that means there's 2 sounds on this page now. Hidden Clue is the one that I just added. And I'm going to go back to the event graph, and I'm going to double click and select Hidden Clue. So let's try previewing it to see what happens. Okay. Hello, this is a hidden audio clue. Great, so that would be how it would work. And then I can continue on and press next and go to our last puzzle. So our last puzzle is very similar to the second puzzle in that it is a free response question again. And in this case, it's not a typical quiz sort of question. There are these hidden hidden letters on every page. So we saw that there was like a C here. On this page, there's an E. On this page, there's an A. And in my case, it spells out the word escape. So in your case, you probably want to have it spell something else. So how do we make it spell something else? Well, we go to the event graph, similar to the second puzzle. I'm just going to type in the answer that I want here. So if I want to say, I don't know, my answer is going to be awesome, then that would be my answer. And then on your end, you would have to also, change up all of these letters and hide them as you will, etc. So if I go to preview, and if I say, hello, this is the wrong answer, try again. And if I say, awesome, it goes to the last page, which is the ending per se. So I hope this helps. I had to go through quite quickly through all the pages. If you want more tutorials, do check out the tutorials here because they do have a step-by-step guide. And we also have more video tutorials that are more segmented that go through exactly how to record a voiceover, how to play a text effect. So that way you could just see a small snippet rather than trying to figure everything out. And hope that helps. And please let me know if you have any questions. And definitely check out the linked documents in the description. Thank you. Bye-bye.